Yeah, well, I became involved with the revealing histories and the black slavery thing through a lady called Gloria Burnwell. Basically, she was having this Galton festival, it's during the Black History Month in March, where she commissioned me to do a poetry for slavery and stuff, and I did a poetry there, and from there it's gone on. We've done so many things together, and she brought me to Manchester Arts Gallery, and it's really been fantastic doing the what I did for Manchester Arts Gallery in cooperation with my other colleagues, Alia, Nathan, Carter, Gloria, Marina, Lisa Gray, of course, and yeah, it's really been fun, getting to know how history, how slavery has affected black people in the United Kingdom and America, and doing, kind of enunciating Manchester's role in slavery, and yeah.
I mean, initially, was it to do with was your initial poem to do with the abolition of slavery rather than what was the initial?
Normally, I write poem on a vast, subject of things. I write poetry on anything, but my poetry with Gloria was based on slavery and abolition of slavery. And I wrote one which I dedicated to William Wilberforce, which is "I Am a Wheel." So I wrote that at the Galton. I read that at the Galton Festival, and I've done other poetry for Manchester Arts Gallery, "Free Thyself," and "What Shall We Do at a Time Like This?" Yeah, so I write on different subjects, but for this project I've written on Black history. Yeah.
And that was specifically "I Am a Wheel," which we just heard.
The one I read today, I read two today actually. I read "Free Thyself" and the second one, "What Shall We Do at a Time Like This?" Yeah. "Free Thyself." Before I wrote the poem "Free Thyself," I did like a drawing. And it was basically a drawing of a man who's got chains in his hand, and the chain's been broken, but he's got a key in one hand. And I wrote the poem, which is to like say, you've been freed. You were once a slave, and now you're free. So you've got the key to unlock the little chains, which are basically, in my own term, prejudices that are attached to people, even though they are free. And those prejudices are like, thinking that because you're black you can't do nothing. So I wrote that to kind of gear people up that because you're black does not mean you can't do nothing. It means you still can do something. And those poems is just kind of like to picture how people can get up from where they were and like take it upon themselves to free themselves totally of all prejudices.
From what it says from your poetry, it sounds a bit like it's kind of a modern. You see it very much as living history and revealing history as in a modern context and black people today, rather than focusing on, say, abolition and it seems that you want to engage with this subject as in it's how relevant it is.
Oh yes, I mean, because slavery has been, I could say, during the time when slavery was rife, the way it was seen then was like the black man was enslaved. But now it's a bit different now because, it's not like the black man is actually enslaved. Even if the black man is enslaved, it's not like slavery with chains and stuff like that. So in the way I wrote that now, it's like in a modern context whereby black kids can like think of themselves as they're not, because you're black does not mean you have to be a gangster, because you're black does not mean you can't be a doctor or you can't do something. I'm kind of bringing it home to people now that even though you are black, you have to look inside of you because, black, your skin should not like bring you down and make you think that that's all you can be, because you can do much more than that and you have to like look into yourself to do that.
And do you see it as part of learning your history and learning as part of for young black people? That's very important, and maybe even for young white people.
Oh yeah, I think it's very important because I read something somewhere that learning your history makes you understand who you are and where you're coming from, and helps you to know the kind of person you should be. So I think it's very important for not just black people, even young white people, to know where they are coming from, and it makes you know how to act to people, because like I say, everyone's got a role to play. So if you learn your history, it's going to make you better able at coping and better able to develop yourself and kind of tap into your inner energies, you know. So yeah, it's more like you have to learn your history. Yeah.
And I remember you initially saying, the woman mentioned it, this idea of you asked her the question, you know, do you know black political history?
Yeah.
And do you think a lot of white people don't know much about what's black political history or what's gone on before and the complexity of such a subject?
Yeah, I would say some people, like even during our discussions on this project, what you would learn is so many people, even during the slavery time, they didn't know the woes of slavery. They didn't really know what they were doing. All they know is what was thrown at them. So now I think some people still did not know what black people went through, and it's very important for everyone to like actually know where people are coming from and not to be ignorant. And talking about the fair trade, it's like, you know, I don't know, maybe Africa's always bear the brunt of all these things, but I think it's very important for us to like learn where people are coming from, and it's going to help everyone to live better in harmony. Yeah.
And sorry, what was your point about the fair trade?
Yeah, it's just the fair trade, you know, like when farmers in, say, Ghana, they produce things and they export them and they get like peanuts compared to what those things were sold for. So I think it's like very important for them to like get what they actually work for and not be like still in slavery, kind of, if you know what I mean. So yeah,
like modern slavery almost.
Like modern slavery, definitely, yes, you know, because if you're working for something, and it's, you know, it's not just even black people, it's not just people from Africa, even like in England, even, you know, like the milk farmers, and you know, they produce the milk, but they actually get peanuts from what they put, and the big supermarkets gets majority of what, you know. So same way that is, you know, people are still bearing the brunt back there too. Yeah.